And Jane, thank you for the introduction, and thanks to Rudy and Zet for inviting me here today. It has been a number of years since I've been here. I was a little bit amazed myself to consider it has been 6 years. I know, it's amazing. So for those of you that I haven't met before, my name is Michael Wolf, and for those of you that I have before, it's great to see you again. Really great. Yeah, some really familiar and loving faces here. So who am I? First of all, let me begin with a little bit of an introduction. You could best think of Michael Wolf as a philanthropist. And when I look at the definition of philanthropy, I can know that what philanthropy is all about is the love of humanity. And that is who I am, as a lover of humanity. And the project that I've been working on for the past 6 years since I last saw you guys is called Empowering Now. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. During my day job, I work for IBM Corporation. I'm in the software sales group. I sell big-ticket software to big, complicated organizations. And it's basically software that helps them to manage their data centers and to improve operations in data centers. And they call that the cloud, for those of you that have heard of the cloud. So I'm an angel for IBM, and I'm an angel in my philanthropy. I can assure you it's much different. The IBM cloud is much different than the cloud. But they're both the same. We are one, remember? And so in that context, I would like to introduce a topic today called and thank you for the distinction, the decision that lands in faith. And so a quick background, I'm a South Texas country boy. I grew up on a ranch, 4-H, FFA, in between Cuero and Victoria, a couple hours to the south of here. And I went off to school at Texas A&M, got my college degree, and in the mid-'80s I started working for Xerox, selling copy machines, when it was really cool to sell copy machines. That used to be the thing to do, by the way. It was a lot of fun. And I spent the better part of 20 years in technology, basically burning the candle at both ends. If you look at Michael Wolf, I was always the top sales guy. Literally, for every company that I worked for, I was in the top 5% of the sales force. And that was a lot of misery. And I can tell you that if there is a relationship between money and happiness, it is inverse. You've heard that before? It's true. And in fact, in 2000, 2001, back during the dot-com revolution, I was right in the midst of that. High pressure, making a lot of money, in the middle of the technology, and I was full of addictions. Alcohol, sex, my relationship with my wife stunk. I mean, I was literally, the wheels were coming off in every element of my life. And I had a very deep and profound and rememberable spiritual experience. And that one event shifted my life overnight. I became a transformation enthusiast, studying every global religion on the planet, going to every workshop available, reading all of the books, ultimately in 2006, I quit my corporate job and became a hands-on energy healer. Yeah. It took a lot of courage. I was very scared. It took me 4 years to make that decision, talking about the decision. But it took me 4 years to follow my heart. And I knew that I wanted to make a difference on the planet, and so I have a gift with laying my hands on, and I learned to practice body talk. I learned to do quantum biofeedback. I learned meditation. I learned all about all of the modalities, and my vision was to bring together business and the holistic arts into a global vision for a planet that's actually awake and sane. Anyhow, from that point, I ran out of money in 2010. And I believe it wasn't for lack of trying. I really tried my best to be a healer that made money, but donations didn't cut it. I just couldn't make it work. So put on the business suit, cut my hair, went back to work, and here I am. So, and I have nothing to sell, literally. I'm serious, and that's the real beauty of this talk today. I have nothing to sell. So, transformation. We're talking about transformation, the decision that lands into faith. What is the decision? So the first question to ponder is, how many of you would consider yourself transformation enthusiasts? Yeah. Instead of going to the park or, maybe you go to the park, but you've got your book with you, right? Or maybe you've gone to all of the workshops or looking for the latest. What is the latest? How can I maintain that transformation edge? And it's good to be amongst companions. Thank you. So the question on that topic of transformation is, can you make transformation happen on your own free will? In other words, for me, I wanted to transform my relationship with my career in the form of being a healer that made money. But you know what? I could not make it happen. So how many of you have attempted or believe that you can actually make your transformation happen through your own free will? You think you can do that? Okay, good. Anybody else? So my experience is different in the sense that if I could make my transformation happen, I would have already done it. I would not be in a situation where I don't have the body that I say that I want, or I don't have the relationship that I say that I want. What I'm offering for your pondering is that transformation it's a paradox. It is an absolute paradox. What I see about it in my own experience is that it is much more of a receiving. Much more of a receiving than it is making it happen. And the paradox is that it does not happen because of my doing, but at the same exact moment, it cannot happen without my doing. That's the paradox. But at the end of the day, the transformation that I've enjoyed has really been more about a receiving. Grace would be another way to consider that topic. In Hebrew, that word is Kabbalah. And many of us have heard of the Kabbalah or heard the word Kabbalah. It's spoken a number of different ways. But the word Kabbalah means receiving. The rabbinical Jewish tradition spells that word with a K. If we go to the other side of the house and consider the Egyptologists or the Christian Kabbalists, or they spell it with a Q. Two different words pronounced the same way, Kabbalah. At the end of the day, the idea correlates to what we're speaking about. It's a receiving. And what is it that I'm receiving? Me. So if we would just take a moment and just breathe in the topic of Kabbalah and just allow yourself to come into tune with your Kabbalah. So, what is the object of the Kabbalah? What is the object of my receiving? Simple. Wisdom. If we look at the ancient mythologies of Greek mythology, Athena was known as the goddess of wisdom and war, as was Lilith. Reminds me of Kali up here, the dark goddess. Why would there be so much darkness at the center of the altar? In order for me to receive the Kabbalah, for me to receive me, I have to be like an owl, which, by the way, is the mythological creature that's associated with both Lilith and also with Athena. I asked my kids last week, why would the owl be the symbol of knowledge? And my son said something interesting. It's because the owl can turn its head 360 degrees. Not only that, but the owl operates where? In the darkness. How comfortable are we as a humanity at navigating our own darkness? Slim to nil, maybe? Anybody want to join me there? I can guarantee you I was not taught as a child to explore my shadow. I was taught to hide, suppress, and deny. I'm okay, and I'm really not. But the point being here is that there's a tremendous resistance to going into the shadow. Have you noticed? It is literally one of the most scary things any human being can ever do, is to take on the conscious decision to go into the shadow. And yet, how effective are we if we do not do that? In other words, can you hear me if I have an agenda? Can you really hear me? Can you hear my heart? Would you be inspired to do the next right thing if there's an agenda or some unconstrained shadow that has me operating from a place that is anything other than purity? More than likely, you would meet me in the answer, which is probably not. So we know that we're all aficionados and interested in transformation. That's the first step, yes. The second part is that I can't actually make it happen from my own free will. That's the second piece. The third piece is that wisdom is in the shadow, and I'm going to resist it. I'm going to resist going there. It's not natural. From that resistance, the question becomes, what are the results of not exploring the shadow? We started to talk a little bit about that. It does not work. It cannot work. I am not in touch with myself. And so that's what transmits. So let's pretend for a moment that we all make the decision. I'm going for self-knowledge. I'm going for wisdom as my first and top priority in life. What's the first thing that happens? Doubt. I can't do this. What's going to happen to my family? Who would they think I am? What about work? Are they going to think I'm some weirdo? What about my intimate relationships? I might have some work to do there. Things that, appear to be really natural to our heart, the calling of our heart, are very difficult when it comes time to purify the shadow. And so we can expect that doubt will be our companion until it is not. It's part of the process. And to the extent that I can expect the doubt, I'm able to continue my process of self-purification. So what's on the other side of doubt? The simple answer is certainty. Now, the New Testament talks about your faith has made you well. And this is what was such a pondering concept to me, especially as a healer, in the sense that Jesus did not take credit for his healings. What he said was, your faith has made you well. As you believe, so it is given unto you. So you mean I selected this body, I selected this relationship? Well, what's the invitation that is being laid in front of us is really what we're here to explore today at another level. So, can I really, really, really be heard from a place of doubt? No. Am I the doubt? Is that who I am? Well, at my core, who I am is actually certainty. And that's why doubt feels so stinky, because it's not who I am. Who I am is the certainty of love. So, we've talked about transformation. We've talked about the actual receiving of the Kabbalah, receiving of me. We've talked about the next step being to go into the shadow, the resistance to the shadow. How do I come into faith? That's the next question. And in order to get there, one of the neat things about XPR and the work that we're doing is that it provides a process, an elemental way to understand any important concept. In this case, we're looking at a decision. And the decision that lands in faith is where we're going. It begins with the first step, which is a commitment to purity. As I commit beyond doubt, 100%, that purity is my top priority, from there I can start to laugh at myself because literally I do some stupid stuff. I mean, and I used to defend it, right? It's like, this is your fault. I'm especially guilty of that with my former wife. It's like, and today I can tell you that I can sit through circumstances which literally, they are funny. And for those of you that know me, you know a little bit about some of the insanity that today I'm able to laugh at. In the past, it hurt. So from the decision for purity and making that as my number one and only goal in life, that's the only sane thing to choose. I can laugh, and from that laughing comes an acceptance. And the acceptance is bring it on. That is my only prayer. Bring on the shadow, bring on the challenges, bring on the button pushes, because you know what? It's only in that acceptance that I have the opportunity to go into the shadow, and that's what it is. It's an opportunity. Because when I go in the shadow, guess what? I can see myself. I can see that instead of ignoring that, I'm bringing light to it. And as I accept that call, slowly but surely I gain presence. And why is presence important? It provides the courage to do what I need to do, to speak what I need to speak, to take the actions that I need to act from. And without the presence, I'm reacting from my subconscious. I'm reacting from a pattern that comes from my past, that comes from my childhood, instead of from the loving essence of who I am. And out of that presence, I begin to trust myself. When I'm not doing my work, I don't trust me. I don't trust me in the way that I'm speaking because the doubt is what is speaking, instead of the certainty that I am. So as and it's a paradox. It doesn't happen without my doing, it doesn't happen because of my doing, but that trust is something that grows. And as I prove it to me that I'm willing to do the work, then I land in faith. And what is the faith? The faith is certainty in the mystery. Sitting with Kali. Sitting in the darkness, not knowing, not having an agenda, an expectation, but being willing to be that channel for the loving energy that I am to come through. So that's the conversation. The decision is purity, similar to a virgin olive oil. The reason it's virgin is because it's pure. And as we take on that level and that willingness, then we can all be the change that we wish to see.